Hey guys, thanks for stopping by to watch another video here at All I See is W, where we talk about stocks, Bitcoin, and finance. If you're new to this channel, I would really appreciate you hitting the like and subscribing for more related content. In today's video, I wanted to just talk about the overall Bitcoin market. We saw price action, especially in the Bitcoin miner sector. I'll share with you top five Bitcoin miners that I believe have the potential to make bullish runs and my reasons why, along with how far Bitcoin can top off, especially in this bullish cycle that will continue in this year, 2025. We'll cover all of those details. So let's get started. First off, I wanted to cover the overall technicals just based on today's performance. So we have here Riot leading the workhorse today out of the top five miners. I believe that has the potential for 2025 gains at 17% performance. And we have Mara, a pure miner play, at 14%, CleanSpark at 14%. So the top three performance today are the pure Bitcoin miner plays with the biggest HODL and the biggest capacity for mining production. Now we have Iren here, which is a hybrid miner play at 10%, along with BitFarms hovering up at 8%. So just recently we got BitFarms data announced. We'll cover that as well. And I'll touch on each of the different miners as we look at their overall updates. But very good day today. Lots of price action, even in the opening of the market. It started going up in the green zone, but just over time, we saw that consistent upward trajectory across the board. And that was all driven by the overall price of Bitcoin. As we scale out on a 1 month chart here, we see that there's a number of these miners that have been underperforming. And I think that's really what's going to allow for these companies to really start vertical V-shaping up with large green candlesticks. We have Mara still down at 21%. At one point, Mara, it was up at $30 not too long ago in like less than 4 weeks, along with CleanSpark reaching like $18 recently in like November. Iren is taking a small hit as well, dropping 12%. BitFarms as well. Riot is, up in the 3%, and I think that was attributed to the potential possible move into the HPC AI platform. As we scale out, just looking at, a 6 month chart here, we see the overall sector here. CleanSpark still down 30%, BitFarm still down, Iren still down. So a lot of these companies are really showing underperformance in the 6 month chart. Let's take a look at a 1 year chart. So we see BitFarms down close to 40%, Riot down 18%, Mara 16%, CleanSpark up by 2%. Iron has done quite well in the year, but overall, I think where we are currently from like a 3 month perspective, I see that big just underperformance just with these miners. So what does this mean? I think that there's potential 3 to 5x with these miners here. Some, I believe, have more bullish sentiments on, for example, like the pure miner plays. When we look at, like Mara, CleanSpark, Riot, because we didn't see much of a performance in 2024, I think that these pure miner plays are really going to add value this year, especially once we have more updates on the United States Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. So all of that's going to be coming into play, along with the positive news from like BitFarms and Irons. We'll cover all of that. Here, just overall technical analysis, we saw Bitcoin breaking close to getting to that $99,000, where it currently is right now, hovering, sub 98,000. But based on price targets from analysts like H.C. Wainwright, you know, uh, institution is suggesting that it's going to reach that 225,000 marker by the year end of year. Along with Robert Kiyosaki, he's suggesting, mid 200s, 300,000 for year 2025. So lots of bullish price targets with Bitcoin. And what does that mean? I think that's really going to drive up the prices of these crypto miners now that they're generating revenue with the rise in the Bitcoin price. Now, I wanted to just share this article here in that Bitcoin's set for a significant bull market. So Bitcoin continues to trade under 100,000. We saw that correction from that 108,000 all-time high. But I think there's a clear direction for getting up to that 200,000, setting that stage for accelerating gains. So I think there's lots of potential here with HC Wainwright expecting Bitcoin to reach 225K per coin. It initially had a prior forecast of 145,000. So there's reasons why these price targets are going up here. And I think HC Wainwright have been, setting price targets for a lot of these Bitcoin miners, and we'll cover that as well. Overall, all in all, these, price targets are just based on favorable regulatory environment under Trump administration, along with digital assets being driven from the corporate adoption with ETFs and companies hodling Bitcoin. So all of that's changed in the year 2024. We saw that, but I think a lot of the execution, we're going to continue seeing that in this year alone. So we're definitely in for a significant bull market, and the firm estimates total market cap for Bitcoin miners will exceed 100 billion in 2025 with pure plays to outperform. So what does that mean? Just thinking about like the top three, the big three hodlers. So like Mara, Riot, CleanSpark with the highest HODL count. These companies overall, their market cap is going to, from this article, saying 100 billion in 2025. So mining stocks are seen once again outperforming Bitcoin in 2025 as fundamentals improve for the group. So you see here, Mara, Riot, CleanSpark as pure miner plays, and then we'll also cover Iren and BitFarms as well. So very good positive news all in all here, just with the overall price actions that we see with Bitcoin. Now, here in this article from Yahoo, the title is All Crypto Miners Are Not Created Equal. And that is very true. And it's nice to see that there's a rating for CleanSpark price target of $27 where we currently are. We just saw, CleanSpark get to like $9, but now at $27, that's a 200% gain. I think just in the near term alone, I think that this is a pretty conservative price target. We can potentially see 3 to 5x. Just overall, cryptocurrency regulation is expected to ease with Trump entering the White House January 20th. And what does it mean by not all miners are created equal? So what this means is that there's two types here, those capable of pivoting to high performance computing and efficient operators focused on balance sheet management. So we'll talk more about that. So for example, with CleanSpark's case, as a leading player in the crypto mining sector, citing its best-in-class management team, very efficient mining fleet and strong EBITDA generation potential. So CleanSpark, they're a clear miner, just focusing on mining, improving their overall fleet efficiency, getting that joules per terahash now down from like 19 to 17. So one of the leading best in class, they're right behind Iren. But overall, because CleanSpark, they're like number two in terms of mining production per day. They mine, close to, like 622 Bitcoins per month. That was the November data. So I think it'll be very interesting to see how much of an increase we see on the December data. But the fact that CleanSpark is focused on their portfolio management with their balance sheet, just keeping, debt low and focusing on just improving their mining capacity. I think that's why this analyst is bullish on a pure miner play like CleanSpark, and especially with the convertible note paying off that line of credit with Coinbase, and also just buying back shares to prevent further dilution, along with having money to scale up its hash expansion into the first half of this year, getting from 37 exahash milestone, which we heard, to 50 exahash by in the next 6 months, including this month. That's really going to look good for CleanSpark all in all here. Let's take a look at just this article here from X. US dominates Bitcoin hash rate. So we learned here that the overall hash rate, which indicates the total computational power used for mining and security transactions, achieved an all-time high of over 1,000 exahashes per second. This is a huge milestone when we compare it to last year's numbers, showcasing miners' continued investment in the network despite the halving event in April that reduced mining rewards. So overall, the United States, they have become a major player in Bitcoin mining, contributing over 40% of global hash rate. And that includes like Mara. But overall, this concentration of mining power raises concern in potential centralization, which could impact Bitcoin's centralized ethos. But let's just deep dive into this overall visual here. We see just 2024 has just been an exponential increase with the hash rate in anticipation of the halving event in April. And we see this correlated with the overall price of Bitcoin. So very good visual here. Keep hashing on, increase that hash rate. And now, miner fleet efficiency, joules per terahash is going to be the other variable to consider. Let's take a look at an article here from Yahoo Finance. Mara CEO Fred Thiel advocates Bitcoin investment strategy for retail investors. So, overall, with this interview recently with Fox News, Thiel pointed out that Bitcoin's price has fallen in 3 out of 14 years. So, that really just shows investors, gives them the color that investing in crypto over time is going to go up, right? Bitcoin is expected to go into the $1 million at one point, but just all in all, just taking that approach of like, passive investing, because over 2, 3, 4 years it grows. That's just highlighting Bitcoin's ability to rise between 29 and 15% annually in most years. And if that's the case, it really should be an investment tool. So the CEO also identifies several factors that could drive Bitcoin prices higher, such as the possibility of a US Bitcoin reserve, increased institutional adoption via a spot Bitcoin exchange traded funds, and a more favorable regulatory environment, which is what we covered. And all in all, just with Michael Saylor's poll, out of like 65,000 participants, their plan is to increase Bitcoin holdings in the upcoming year. So what does that mean? Bitcoin price is going to go up. This aligns with Mara's strategic shift, where the company has adopted a new treasury policy to retain all Bitcoin mined, increase its holdings from 15,000 to 44,394 at its closure in 2024. So current value of the Bitcoin reserves for Mara is 4.3 billion. But again, there was that article saying that, these miners are at one point going to get to 100 billion in market cap. And for sure, Mara will be the first one to reach that, especially since they're the biggest Bitcoin miner here. And they're the second largest holder of Bitcoin, following MicroStrategy, which holds, close to 500,000 of Bitcoin. So all in all, I think there's so much value in this pure miner play, Mara here with the biggest exahash and the biggest HODL. So let's take a look at Riot Platforms. So Riot Platforms is another big time Bitcoin pure miner play. There's been potential talks about whether Riot Platforms will pursue the HPC AI sector. But I think all in all, just looking at the 52-week range of like a low $6 to $18, we saw $18 achieved back in like February of 2024. So I definitely do think that it could potentially retest that in the upcoming weeks, especially the events leading up to the inauguration up through February, announcing its quarterly results. So we're looking at income statements just to give you some context on what I expect to see in the Q4 results. So, as we know in the Q3 results as well as Q2 results, we saw a significant underperformance in that we saw, net loss, we saw revenue getting impacted. But I think because Q4, that time point where we saw the price of Bitcoin appreciating, even before Riot increased their HODL with Bitcoin, think about every Bitcoin that they owned at that time. and factoring in the rise in the Bitcoin price, all of that's going to be considered revenue here. And revenue will really offset all of the cost of the revenue and then have a higher return on cash flow in which we will see a bigger gross profit. And I think towards, the review of the balance sheet, the annual balance sheet, we're going to see a bigger asset number, which will, reflect how big, the company is growing. And I think market cap is definitely going to increase, but it's exciting to see just based on technicals of Riot Platforms, it retested, $15 recently November timeframe. I think there's no reason for it to retest that 15 range and then start getting back up to the 18. But I do think there's going to be a lot of potential getting, beyond $20 even perhaps in this year alone with Riot Platforms. So looking forward to the quarterly results for all of these miners because I think that's going to be one of the driving factors for amazing price action. Let's take a look at BitFarms. So BitFarms, they're not like one of the top three hodlers and all that, but I think what they're currently doing right now, because they also are a Bitcoin miner company, we have to also consider them. And just based on the recent technicals, BitFarms, they've been beaten up in terms of its share price. Just looking at it from a 1 month range, you see 3 month range, we see Bitfarm like down the most, right? So it's been hugely shorted. I think because Bitfarms has taken a big toll in terms of its drop in the share price. We saw it getting close up to like $4. The support was 140, but now with today's rise, we see it at like 170. But I think there's room for it to break through like 380, which is what we saw. But they increased their hash rate year over year, 97% up to 12.8 exahash now. And they also improved their fleet efficiency by 40% now to like 21 um, joules per terahash. So they're like, one off from like what Mara has. Of course, 12.8 exahash, that's like a fourth of what Mara has, but overall, still good numbers given the fact that they improved their efficiency here and they earned a full year of 2,914 Bitcoin for 2024, expanding their operations to 324 megawatt. So I think along with the acquisition of Stronghold Digital Mining set to close this quarter, that just shows their overall expansion of BitFarms. So I think that's why we're beginning to see a sudden uptick with BitFarms price. Just overall 5-day charts here, we see 4.8% gain, but that's looking really good just for a company that's just been heavily shorted recently. But I think that because it dropped so much in 2024, what goes down eventually will pop back up. And I think that's why BitFarms is part of the top five miner plays in 2025. Let's take a look at the last miner here I wanted to talk about, which is the top five Bitcoin miner here is Iren, in that they announced that they achieved, 31 exahash, the year-end target, which was announced back in December 23, so not too long ago. They reached that 31 exahash. They installed self-mining capacity, surpassing their original goal of 20 exahash. So really just ramping up on their targets, working at a very fast pace, achieving that goal of 31 exahash, exceeding their overall initial year-end targets. So that just shows how strong the management is. They're very proactive at getting things done. And I think that's really showing why investors believe in Iren, a hybrid type of miner play, in that they also have revenue generated from AI cloud-based service. But here you see the different phases with Childress phase one, 350 megawatt, and then Childress phase 4 or 5, 300 megawatt visual here. But I think that all in all, what's important to see is that they're on track for 50 exahash in the first half of 2025, similar to CleanSpark's goal. But with their data center facilities, along with their proven execution of, site teams and processes in place to sustain the cadence of constructing, 50 megawatt data centers per month. That just shows that they have that ability to ramp things up quickly, along with the S21 Pro miner secured. So they purchase things up front at a fixed price option of $18.09 per terahash. So that's just an image of the different facilities here. But I think overall, Iren is definitely undervalued too, and I think this is why I believe these minor plays, Mara, Riot, CleanSpark, Iren, and BitFarm have the potential to just make significant bullish runs. So let me know what your thoughts are. What are your top five minor plays? Please leave your comments and questions down below. Thank you.